Hello, how are y'all doing? Hopefully good? So this year has been pretty interesting when it comes to movies. Everything Disney keeps underperforming at the box office, which leads other movies to having potential shots. And one of these movies that took this opportunity was Barbie. Barbie came out July of this year with surprising results when it comes to being talked about. This movie became a talking point for both sides of the political spectrum. What we thought would be a simple movie about Barbie going into the real world turns out to be another culture war thing, I guess. We all figured Barbie would have some political appeal to feminism at least because, it's Barbie, but we weren't expecting how much there would be. Barbie not only goes full on female empowerment, but also full on leftist too. This caught everyone by surprise considering there wasn't any mention of this in the trailers that was shown to us. And one of the people that pointed this out to everyone was, of course, none other than the Critical Drinker. The Critical Drinker is a famous YouTube critic and author. He has acquired over 1 million subscribers for his funny but also informative videos he publishes. Most of these videos are about movies in Hollywood and why some of them are not good. He also does deep dives and analysis on why most modern movies are not well put together like older films were. He's become so well known that he's even gotten to do interviews with both Russell Brand and even Russell Crowe. Think about that, he's got two of the biggest Russells in the world. He hasn't gotten Kurt Russell yet though, but maybe soon he'll add that to his collection of interviews with Russells. However, you can't be famous without a few people not liking you. And in today's video, we'll go over someone's video criticizing him. Drinker of course did a video on Barbie, which gotten some traction in leftist circle. And one of the few people who made a video on his Barbie take is a YouTuber by the name of Pillar of Garbage. So let's just hop right into this video and see what we're dealing with, shall we?
Is Barbie garbage? Barbage, if you will. Was it sold to audiences under false pretenses? And if so, is there a danger here?
At first, I didn't think this opening was bad. He actually starts off with a pretty reasonable question he's asking that's on a lot of people's minds. But throughout the video, you'll notice he becomes less good faith as he continues to talk about Drinker.
According to a recent video from everyone's favorite YouTuber, the Critical Drinker, the answer to those questions is an emphatic yes. The truth, though, isn't quite so simple, and in fact, that video says a good deal more about the Drinker and his critical practice than you might have thought. Join me as we wade through a truly baffling review and investigate the way the Drinker continues to mislead his audience, the way contentious narratives are invoked to disguise poor criticism, and the way this video illuminates the fundamental dilemma at the heart of the Critical Drinker's channel.
Other than the strong, bold claim about him misleading his audience, he also seems to try and undermine Drinker by sarcastically talking about his way of reviewing film and media. See, because he's a little more to the right and popular, leftists hate him, even downright despises him. And unfortunately, it looks like Pillar's going to fall in this category as well. So much so, he won't really listen to the Critical Drinker's arguments for what they are.
Let's get into it. The Drinker's video starts and ends with the accusation that Warner deliberately misled the public as to the character of their film.
You guys really pulled off a miracle with this one, successfully duping all of us, including me, into believing that Barbie was going to be just another colourful, light-hearted, easygoing family comedy.
That is not only a perfectly reasonable argument, but what people's assumption of the film was going to be. Now, this may be due to the fact that when you think about Barbie, you think about a girl brand for children. But Mr. Garbage has a counter to that argument.
This is from the trailer, by the way.
Do you guys ever think about dying?
Look, I said he had one, I didn't say he had a good one. The obvious claim he's trying to make here is that because in the trailer Barbie talks about death, it's not family friendly. But the problem is death is mentioned in children's films anyways, and in different ways too. Whether it's from Disney,
Long live the king.
DreamWorks Animation, and Sony.
You okay?
I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm just resting.
Can you get up?
Yeah. I know what you're trying to do. And it won't work. They're gone.
What did he just tell you? Toothless, no! Toothless! Son! Dad! No! I will have order! I will have perfection!
Even Sesame Street delve into this topic.
Sorry, folks. It won't happen again.
More. They don't eat or breathe or talk on the phone. Uncle Jack died.
It's so common in children and family-oriented films that even Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, that was the entire plot, dealing with morality and death as a part of children's entertainment as well. And if your argument is that death was being joked about, well, that's in kids' films too.
There's gotta be a way out of here.
There's no escape. The only hope is the sweet relief of death.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You're invited to the royal wedding! Yay! Where you will all be ritualistically sacrificed!
Finally, mercy.
So already this is not a good argument, but let's continue on and see how well he does.
So the nearest thing the Drinker's video has to a thesis or a through line, the string from which his usual motley assortment of nitpicks hang.
Okay, this is a nitpick of mine, but I don't like it when people use big words to make themselves seem more intelligent. Sure, you sound smart, but if normal people can't understand what you're saying, why bother talking to a mass majority of people? See, I can say the female homo sapien laud for my tremendous epidemis, but most people would just prefer if I just say women love my huge ball.
So before we dig into the significance of the Drinker taking this angle, let's just check. Is he right? Shit, sorry, I don't know how that sound file got in the mix. Is he right?
Personally, I'm on Drinker's side here when it comes to this argument, but I am willing to hear someone out. After all, a broken clock can be right twice a day.
Well, no. Let's talk about the trailers. I can't play them whole, copyright's a beach, but hey, to make sure I'm not misrepresenting them in my discussion, the one teaser and two trailers Warner dropped for this bad boy that formed the backbone of the film's pre-release PR are linked in the description, so give them a watch now if you fancy.
So he's gonna keep on talking about the trailers for this argument for a little bit, and while I can see some of the criticisms he has, I think he fails to see how this marketing wasn't an adult-only thing. See, when you market a movie that's based off a toy for little girls, you might want to get as many people as you can. They even went as far as to have memes being made about the Barbie movie, and while most were not sponsored, you can see it was meant for a wide variety of people. But here's his next comment when it comes to the trailer's marketing.
Teaser, the only real look at this film the world was given until like 3 months back was, well, it's the Space Odyssey referencing opening sequence, played I think in full. Because you know what kids love, you know what those little guys just go nuts for, you know what gets them hyped about going to the pictures? Stanley Kubrick references. Those little bastards eat that shit up.
Because it's parodying 2001: A Space Odyssey, he thinks kids won't show any interest, which is true until they see Barbie. Then, they immediately switch tunes because they now know that there's a real-life Barbie movie coming out with real-life people. So now you not only got the adults interested in this movie, but now you have their kids too. and because there are only a few jokes that will go over the children's heads anyways, it looks like a good time for everyone. But I guess he doesn't understand the concept of mass marketing? I don't know.
And those random clips focus on the cast, show off Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu, and plenty more. Emphasis on celebrity, on a sort of star power adults care about, was a staple tactic. Maybe the staple tactic of the film's publicity.
Wait, what?
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that doesn't sink this guy's thesis. Maybe the only thing kids love more than a Kubrick reference is recognizing their favorite SNL alumni.
Showing celebrities and their names isn't something kids don't understand. All it is essentially crediting the actors in the film they're about to go see. This kind of celeb pushing was also in every Lego movie trailer too, so it's not something kids won't be able to understand. Also, children have different ages too, so sometimes an older kid will pick up something too. And even if a kid does not recognize the actor's name, they will recognize their faces. Don't forget, Margot Robbie was Harley Quinn in the 2016 Suicide Squad, and there will be kids that recognize her from that movie. Honestly, this was too much of a stretch, I think.
But is instead very clearly a complication or subversion of the light-hearted, easygoing Barbie fun time yay you might expect when hearing the phrase Barbie movie. A film that looks to be family-friendly, sure, but not necessarily family-oriented.
But that's Drinker's argument. It looks family-friendly, but it's not. His gripe is that people will bring their kids to this movie only to be then shocked at how different it actually is from the marketing. You just agreed with Drinker, yet you don't even know it. Pillar will do this throughout the entire video, and I don't even know how he doesn't catch on to it. But then he would even contradict himself within the next sentence.
Not a kids film, but a film kids can enjoy alongside their parents.
So what is it? A film that's not family oriented, or a film kids can watch with their parents? Because last time I checked, for a film to be okay for kids to watch with their family, it has to be appropriate. And if they wanted to make this movie adults only, why didn't they add in all the scenes about feminism, the patriarchy, and of course its heavy-handed political tone?
Well, you might not see it. The Drinker certainly didn't, or at least he claims not to have. But on balance, I'm going to say yes. That big idea he opens with is pretty clearly a misrepresentation of the film's PR, and I don't anticipate a lot of pushback on that.
I don't know, he sounds correct so far. Other than a few jokes that will obviously go over kids' heads, there is nothing to indicate that this is more of an adult movie.
But here's the thing, the quality of and intentions behind the rest of the Drinker's review also play a role in that conclusion, so really sorry, I know you guys hate it when I go through a Drinker video and pluck it apart, but it looks like we've got to do at least a little of this.
I'm pretty sure with the audience you've created, they love it when you dunk on Drinker, so I don't think that's an issue. Also, some of your most popular videos have something to do with Drinker, even to the point of you defending Disney Plus's She-Hulk. So yeah, I highly doubt that's an issue for your audience.
One bit I really like is here.
Where all the important jobs are done by the Barbies, and the Kens just kind of exist. They've got no inherent value, they contribute nothing, they have no power or say in how their society is run, and they're basically looked down on as a bit silly and irrelevant by the Barbies. Oh my goodness, what could the writers possibly be trying to tell us about their views on men?
Wait, how is he missing the point? All the Kens are second-class citizens in Barbie Land, and the obvious point the movie's trying to make is that this is what the real world's like for women. Drinker could have explained that better in detail, but overall, he's not wrong. In fact, you will even agree with him in your very next argument against him.
Let's put our thinking caps on. In a film about femininity and about female existence under patriarchy, this idea the film plays with now and then, that Kens are eye candy, are peripheral, that they don't get an equal slice of the pie, what could this mean?
That's Drinker's argument right there, you just made. How do you not see this? Are you just willfully ignorant? What Pillar will end up doing is rephrasing Drinker's arguments, but even then he'll do it poorly. Let me just show you what I mean.
Could it be a tongue-in-cheek inversion of our familiar gender politic? Could the point here be a sort of defamiliarization of the role women are often still forced into, flipping those traits, eye candy, peripheral, subordinate, back onto male characters in order to highlight how and why society's foisting of these upon anyone is a problem?
Basically what he is saying is that the film is making a statement about women in roles of movies being nothing more than eye candy and overall not being useful to the plot. Kinda like what Drinker is saying his problem with the film is. But he also wants to add society to the mix, stating that women are often forced into these roles that they're still into, like being good looking for the camera. The problem is that unless they're in some sort of big studio contract making them doing a project, women are not being forced into these roles of being just eye candy anymore. Not with big budget movies, at least. The only type of women nowadays that are just for looks are modeling, and even then there are women that are not even that attractive that are models. And a lot of these women want these jobs. That's why they do them, otherwise they would do something else. The closest we got to someone being forced to be an eye candy was a girl named Amaranth who posted a video showing her boyfriend verbally abusing her. After that, she then claimed she got a restraining order from him and now is free to do whatever she wants. And what does she decide to do? Go back to modeling in swimsuits. So yeah, in the year 2023, I can't think of a role women are forced into because of their looks. I can think of roles that women want to do because they want to do them. But for some reason, it's stuff women tend to like to do, like mothering and taking care of people. But those are jobs outside the entertainment industry.
Or could the fact that, regardless of context, men are on the bottom rung of the ladder, are subservient, simply mean film thinks men bad? The creators hate men, and that's that.
I mean, there are no positive male role models. They all are either dumb, weak, or downright evil misogynists. So yeah, two things can be true at once.
See, symbolically speaking, the way Barbie Land works is twofold. The subordination of the Kens shows the drawbacks of our currently existing gender imbalances, while the Barbie's successes show the heights women could achieve were these imbalances not a factor.
Wait, how can something be the inverse of sexism, showing how bad it is to mistreat a group of people, but then simultaneously say that this is the only way women can be in power? This is the misandry some people have a problem with when it comes to this movie, Drinker included. You can't just say this is the inverse of patriarchy when women are in power and men are second-class citizens and also make it a positive thing. Basically, you can't have your cake and eat it too. He does address an issue that we have with Ken in the movie.
Well, that concept is a little messy. Given the Kens, Barbies, and Allens alike are seemingly endowed with some degree of sapience, or at least the potential for it, Barbie Land's limited opportunities for Kens is a bit troubling. The film kinda hangs a lantern on this with the closing voiceover, but lampshading an issue isn't the same as resolving that issue.
A common complaint most people had. I wonder who else had that complaint.
Now, you might think that after all these wild swings between male and female domination, the logical way forward would be for Barbie Land to adopt a more equal system where both sides are given power and respect. Perhaps teaching the audience that for all our differences, men and women are both pretty awesome, and maybe we'd do well to work together instead of unfairly elevating one group above the other. But nope, the Barbies go right back to being in charge of everything again, and the Kens slide back into a meaningless, depressing existence of being irrelevant second-class citizens.
You know, for a guy who is claiming Drinker misled his audience, you sure do make a lot of his points. The only time you don't agree with him is when you contradict yourself between sentences, so you don't sound like you dislike the film. But of course you will ignore the truth and just try and make a point against Drinker because Drinker bad guy.
So yes, this would, I think, be grounds for a valid critique of if not the film's ideas, then at least the way those ideas are delivered. But you see the issue, right? To get to this knot, you have to actually think about the film, about the things that make you uneasy, about why they make you uneasy before you hit record. And honestly, I'm probably giving the guy too much credit by assuming any of that even registered with him, that he didn't just woke spot the surface level dynamic of man being dominated by women and call it a day.
The other thing I want to talk about is the difference between the real world and the Barbie world. See, another problem with the story is how it portrays the real world. When you do a story about people going into the real world, it's your basic fish out of the water storytelling. The problem is both the Barbie world and the real world are so cartoonish, it's hard to tell the difference. I swear, if it was not for the pink stuff in the Barbie land, I could not fully tell you the difference between them. Apart from the blatant sexism in the real world, of course. This is something Critical Drinker points out well, and what Pillar of Garbage tries to take on.
Moving on, this criticism is also a bit odd.
Like, one guy literally walks up to Barbie and slaps her in the ass, in the middle of a crowded boardwalk, in broad daylight, in front of her boyfriend.
If you can't understand why Drinker is pointing this out in vivid detail, let me help you out. How in the world in 2023 is there a grown man on St. Monica Beach in California going up to an attractive woman and physically assaulting her in broad daylight, and no repercussions are done to the man by anyone else other than Barbie? Unless this is a homeless crack addict, then I think Drinker makes a valid point. But let's hear what Pillar has to say.
Go with me here. The real world in this film isn't all that real. Anyone who's seen the film will recall that things are often a little exaggerated. Given this, it seems strange that this moment gets targeted by the realism police and something like the Mattel chase doesn't, when public sexual assault is the thing that, actually happens sometimes.
Oh, you little weasel. That's not what Critical Drinker is saying. He said it's unbelievable that a normal man is comfortable going up to Barbie and smacking her on the ass. Not the fact that sexual assault exists. Or do you think most men are like Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Hey, Bimbo!
Oh, me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, whore! What do you think you're doing on my turf?
Let's just continue.
And this kind of thing makes up the body of the Drinker's video. Rapid-fire nitpicks that come and go just quick enough to hide the fact that most don't really work. For instance, he notes Barbies change depending on how their owners play with them.
One of the other problems with the films is the Barbies themselves. The Barbies are a reflection of their owners playing with them, which if you think about it for 2 seconds is a horrific thought. This is something Drinker points out and what Pillar will smugly try and debunk, but will ultimately fail at.
And then goes on to criticize this concept by listing things which are not their owners playing with them.
Do you have any idea how many Barbie dolls must get broken, or thrown in trash compactors, or set on fire, or eaten by family pets every single day?
What about the people who buy Barbie dolls just to destroy them? Aren't they technically owned by those people? Or when the person who originally owns them but then decides to give it to a younger sibling who will break them apart, don't they technically own them? What about all the Barbies that were thrown away by said owner? Drinker still has a valid point being made here. The only time this is addressed is when Weird Barbie is introduced as a character. But that implies that there have been Barbies that have been abused, so shouldn't there be a whole lot more disfigured Barbies and even dead Barbies? Why couldn't there be another part of Barbie world that's like total Armageddon, that's just right outside of Barbie land? They could have at least done that. Also, the things happening to Barbie are not because of what her owner is doing with her while she's playing with the Barbie, but what she is feeling as a person. So shouldn't that be considered an issue? Weird Barbie only showed physical abuse, not mental trauma. Honestly, this is one of the strongest criticisms against the movie, and yet you'll try and defend it with what the movie tells us, which is not a lot. Now something interesting happens where both Critical Drinker and Pillar of Garbage make 2 points, and they're both correct.
Take this reading the Drinker offers.
So you're a woman who wants to be a mother or a homemaker? Screw you, fascist!
If you're thinking, hang on, what about America Ferrera's character? Arguably the real heart of this film. What about the way she very clearly draws her strength, the strength that saves Barbie and Barbieland from motherhood? What about that already iconic line near the film's close? We mothers stand still so that our daughters can look back and see how far they've come.
The opening, which is a parody to Space Odyssey, is saying that girls don't need to be mothers and you're a woman who can have a career rather than having kids. So Drinker is correct. But halfway through the movie, we get both the mother character and the creator of Barbie talking about the joys of motherhood and why it's so important. So Pillar of Garbage is correct too. This is yet another reason why Barbie's tone is such a mess. How can you start off being anti-mother, but towards the middle being pro-mother without a story arc within the story? It may have to do with the fact that during the time the director, Greta Gerwig, was welcoming her second child, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Either way, it's still a mess.
If that's not enough, how about the way Drinker acts confused by the Barbie's quick subjugation?
Question how the supposedly intelligent, empowered and self-confident Barbies were so easily subjugated by Ken and the others. This is the kind of awkward little...
This is something Drinker should have brought up, that the film explains it, but I think he wanted to pull a Nick Fury with this one.
The council has made a decision.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
It's weird that all the Barbies are so smart and so empowered, yet when Ken comes back with just the idea of patriarchy, They immediately fall in line with a span of 24 hours, and the only explanation they have is they're not immune to this, like it's a virus. Just because you have a theme does not mean you can just forget about plot and how things make sense. And as a critic, you can't just believe what the film tells you just because it tells you it. You have to look into this for at least a minute or two and see what contradictions there are within what is being told. Otherwise, what's the point of being a reviewer? This is something Pillar does a lot with all of his reviews, including this one.
Despite there being a line in the film which directly answers that question. Maybe he didn't like the explanation though, and elected to ignore it. You know, like an intelligent person would.
You know, an intelligent person would also not take things at face value. But I digress.
Shockingly, some of these nitpicks are just outright untrue.
The real world and all the men in it are shown to be universally, irredeemably horrible. Because of course they are.
What about Duolingo husband? Who? The he's just like me for real king. What about him? Did I blink during a split-second shot of him kicking a dog or something?
Are you talking about the dude who wasn't even in the movie for like a minute? You talking about that guy? The beta soy boy who's constantly being berated by the film and even his daughter. You're talking about that guy, right? Yeah, that's not a positive male role. The only thing you can say in praise of this guy is he did try to learn Spanish for his wife, and even then his commie daughter berates him. She even tells him he's culturally appropriating their culture, which doesn't even make sense. Not just because he's married to her mom, but also learning a language is not appropriating a culture. He's so irrelevant to the story, I don't know why he's even in it. Couldn't they just made the mother character a single mom? The character does not help your argument. In fact, it adds more weight to Drinker's argument.
Turns out, if you accuse any of these guys of lying when they demonstrably are, a bunch of their buddies sick their goons on you, so at the risk of that happening again, gee, I'm noticing a trend.
Oh, boo-hoo, man. I get torn to shreds on the internet for just posting a fan casting. And some of these comments were so vile, I couldn't believe how many there were. Some of which are more pathetic and hilarious more than being hurtful, but I didn't give a damn. But here's the thing, those guys you're so butthurt about were critical of your video. Not because they did not like you, but because you said stupid stuff in that video.
Why does an explosion powerful enough to level a building cause no harm to the people inside the building?
Look, nobody knows how clear-powered energy pipes work. I don't, the drinker doesn't. All we can go off is what the film gives us. And the film shows the flames going up, then cuts to an explosion centered on the topmost section of the home, Miles' office, his nerve center. It seems to me that maybe this is where a lot of the energy infrastructure was installed, and that's why we see the explosion centered here, not in the room below where the characters are. Why should they die from this?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think you're in any position to say anyone is lying when you don't even know what you're talking about in your own reviews. Just saying, pal. Alright, to wrap up this video, let's focus on his final point here, okay?
Look, I'm not going to mince my words. This is bad criticism. I don't just mean it's based on misleading or untrue observations, it's also just bad criticism, actively hostile to complex thought.
Isn't that the majority of movie reviewers who have a strong opinion on a movie they thoroughly dislike? Even Chris Stuckman, the most boring movie reviewer in my opinion, has videos where he trashes movies he thoroughly dislikes, like Dragon Ball Evolution. What Drinker is doing is elaborating on why he hates a movie. Sure, he does not explain all of his thoughts in like 10 minutes, but at least he gives a valid reason. At least some you have failed to debunk. But of course, he's on a different political side, and he's critiquing a film that is very far left, so he has to be wrong. There's no other option.
The review portion of his video finishes with a ham-fisted attempt to apply the gender politic of Barbie Land to our reality, and then to criticize the result, despite, again, that not being the point of Barbie Land. But this hostility to just thinking is made most apparent about midway through the Drinker's video.
This is the part where I sort of lose faith in this guy, because what he's trying to defend in this next part of this video, Well, he's just wrong.
Barbie eventually finds the kid who plays with her, who turns out to be an asshole communist activist feminist that I think the movie wants us to empathize with, but fuck me, for the life of me I could not tell you why.
Let me help you out. Surprisingly, no. We're not really supposed to empathize with the girl who calls Barbie a fascist and makes her cry. Maybe the girl does raise a kind of valid point or two, but she does so in a really mean way, and that's bad. We're not supposed to be on her side. Yet.
Yet? I'm pretty sure if a character calls another character like Barbie a fascist when all she's been is bubbly and nice towards the little brat, I don't think I want to empathize with that character. Like, ever. Now, if she goes on a character arc, sure, but guess what she doesn't do? Or, not really at least. She does a character switch for no logical reason when she decides to go back to Barbie Land even though she was proven right about it being a patriarchy. But even after that, towards the end of the film, she goes back to being that same person at the beginning by saying to her father she's culturally appropriating her culture. Even though if it wasn't for her father, she would not exist. You know, because he did like 50% of the work. At least 40, I think. I'm talking about procreation.
Like where she ends up, not where she starts, which is honestly a kinda mean-spirited caricature of Zoomer leftism. But in a supremely telling moment, the drinker seems to have spotted that caricature, filtered it through the Hollywood is leftist and evil pipe he's got in his brain, and landed on the idea that we're supposed to like and agree with everything nasty the girl says simply because it's couched in a woke aesthetic.
You just said you agreed with some of the points the girl made. Tell me, in between her calling Barbie a fascist, telling her she's a bad role model for women around the world, how she despised both of her parents, to a degree at least, and telling her father that she is culturally appropriating her culture, even though all he did was try and learn Spanish. Because from what I can see, that's literally most of her character.
There is no self-awareness here. Again, this is bad criticism. This is all bad criticism, but it doesn't matter.
Oh great, he's going on his soapbox here in a minute.
But it does something else too. It very consciously and very jarringly inserts Barbie into the canon of hated woke objects.
Barbie is like the deformed, mutated rage child of Captain Marvel, Ghostbusters 2016, and She-Hulk.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Sorry, I thought that was a funny edit Drinker did right there.
It seems a very transparent move, serving to designate Barbie as a battleground in the war against wokeness, and to turn his video from a simple Barbie review into another installment in that war.
So let me get this straight. This movie is overtly political with its message. That's the way it was written. And when someone calls it out like the Drinker, he's the one who gets blamed for this being in the culture war? Not the creator or the people who support the film like it's a cult? Oh my god, the gaslighting people will do for this movie.
The result of this scaling up is that this abstract narrative of wokeness supersedes the specific film ostensibly under review, and the specifics of that film. To the legions of Drinker viewers who are slurping the reactionary Kool-Aid, the quality of his review, the validity of his objections, all this becomes relatively unimportant, because the battle is already won. The film is already designated as woke, and woke is already bad.
First off, don't group critical Drinker with Ron DeSantis. He's from Scotland, and I'm pretty sure he does not know or care much about the governor in Florida. Secondly, everything you're saying right now just applies to you and your audience, just in the opposite direction. Instead of woke being bad, you have to defend this wokeness to the point where you make yourself look so bad faith, but your audience will just eat it up because all they care about is hating on anyone that's not a leftist, Drinker included. If this movie was the same in every way, down to even the marketing, but instead of it being pro-feminist, it was anti-feminist, you would without a beat agree with Drinker on most of the points he made, but because he's on the different political spectrum, you have to disagree with it. You can't have a critical thought of your own, avoid from politics.
It doesn't matter if he lies about the film. It doesn't matter if he thinks about the film. It doesn't matter if they think about the film, because it isn't about whether or not the men are bad, about whether or not this detail or that is explained, or whether or not we're supposed to sympathize with the mean lefty girl. The narrative matters. The shoddy criticism that makes up the rest of a video like this only needs to sound convincing, to scan once, in order to legitimize that narrative.
Kinda like you. I mean, I highly doubt you use those fancy words in your day-to-day discussion with people. I'm pretty sure you're only using these words to make people believe you sound smart, when in actual reality, you ain't saying jack. I'm sensing projection.
What an inspiring message for impressionable young girls. The thing is, none of this would have been quite so insidious if the marketing hadn't done everything in its power to keep it a secret.
We're told that Warner and Mattel have tricked families into seeing their film, and that this is a problem. This is, quote, insidious, not simply misleading.
Well, they did hide all the political stuff from their trailers, and while Mattel tried their best convincing people this movie was not political, it turned out to be political.
The language used suggests it's not just a question of whether little Timmy and Brenda are gonna have a good time. The drinker recommends you don't bring your kids here, and that you'll thank him for that later.
It's not very often that I say this in my reviews, but if you're a parent and you're thinking about taking your kids along to see Barbie, then the drinker recommends you skip this one and do literally anything else with them. Believe me, you'll thank me later.
Oh my god, a movie reviewer recommending if you could bring your kids to a movie or not?
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
The implication being that bringing them would risk interpolating those kids into this dangerous leftist mindset.
Or, you know, the other logical answer is there are themes in the movie that are too mature for kids. That could be it.
The eagle-eyed, or rabbit-eared, I guess, among you might recognize how similar this sounds to that groomer narrative that's been doing the rounds over there in normal country for a while now, and to the related strands of anti-woke nay cultural Marxism theories the Drinkers podcast buddies like to bandy about.
Why are you comparing these two things that have nothing to do with what Drinker said? Where in Drinker's video did he make a comment about the LGBT? This is like if I say I hate mushy peas and you equate that saying to some German guy in the 40s saying I don't like people who invented bagels. It's not an apt comparison.
But hey, let's be generous and allow for the possibility that this similarity is accidental, that this alt-right substrate is a result of oversight on the drinker's part instead of malice or fervor.
That doesn't sound generous at all. That sounds like you're saying he's gonna lead people to being fascists and misogynists, or people who don't like Adam Sandler not because of his comedy, but because of his religion. You know, just because someone doesn't like the politics of a movie and comments on them, doesn't mean they're gonna go into the far other direction of their political spectrum. But that's just my good faith opinion.
Either way, the video ends with a recommitment to Barbie as wokeness narrative fodder, and to the idea that it's succeeding because the film's advertising campaign lied. That's interesting. For a while now, as more and more people have caught onto the reactionary grift.
Why is it always a grift? Why can't it be someone has an opinion they believe in and broadcast it to the world? Is it because he got fame and money from it? Because you can get all those things and still believe in the opinions you hold dear to your heart. You can tell when someone's a grifter by how they can't back up their own claims with their own words. But Drinker goes into detail for some of his examples, so I don't think you can call that a grift.
The Barbie question has loomed. We've known for a while that the film would be a financial success, so the difficulty it had posed to your chuds and your grifters, the get woke go broke crowd, was clear. Wokeness in this sense is an intentionally vague and malleable label, as I've discussed in previous videos.
I wouldn't say it's vague, but I would say it's overused. The problem is there is no other words to describe it when a media pushes a far-left agenda in places it most likely shouldn't be.
There's really no workable formulation of it that wouldn't include the Barbie film. How, then, is that sacred mantra to be preserved? How can Barbie's runaway success be anything but an open refutation of get woke, go broke? The Drinker, knowingly or not, though I suspect knowingly, has furnished this movement with an answer. Barbie tricked the world. People were lured to see it under false pretenses. It doesn't count as a counterexample because the trailers lied.
Well, Drinker is kinda right, though. If you got nothing too political in the trailers, the movie's marketed for all audience, and even Mattel was saying it's not political, yeah, they kinda tried to hide it. And it might be because they know if they front load everything political in the trailers like they did in Ghostbusters 2016, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, and the Rings of Power, they would actually lose money. Or it grows to be the worst known movie in the franchise. Let me ask you this, if the movie stuck with the original planned actress for the Barbie role, Amy Schumer, would it still be a success? Yeah, I think this movie tried everything to hide its political agenda.
Barbie video isn't interesting because it's full of porkies, or because it sometimes plays like he fell asleep in the theatre. It's interesting because it lays out pretty clearly the dilemma at the heart of the Critical Drinker channel. Is he just a chud on the anti-woke grift that's been able to maintain a kind of plausible deniability in the way a, say, Geeks and Gamers hasn't? Or is he just a hack, unable or unwilling to produce well-written videos who's found a strategy that requires neither?
Oof, all these name-calling and slanderous jabs, and not even just at him, but his friends too. Somebody's a bit jealous. You know what's funny? I have a sneaky suspicion that you're only doing this to get a reaction out of him. Not from his fans, but from the man himself. Makes me wonder, what does Drinker think of you, Pillar of Garbage?
Did you all see the new Pillar of Garbage video about Drinker/Barbie? He also takes shots at EFAP, FNT, Gary, Geeks and Gamers, Midnight's Edge, and their fans. So I'll speak for this. Thank you for the $50. I don't know, like, Pillar Garbage is the channel, right? I'm not trying to, like, I've maybe heard of it, never watched anything, don't care. Everybody has a right to their opinion. Go ahead and make whatever fucking videos you want. I think Drinker's on a lot of people's radar. You won't say this, but he's the #1 fucking critic on YouTube. Not even close. Not even fucking close.
Hands down.
Interviewed this dude. Yep, take your sip. Take your sip. Chad,
and your victory lap,
and yeah, now all these people who like think they invented the movie space just don't think you belong in it because you speak the truth and you're actually the word's getting out.
Yeah,
you are one of the best at it.
I'm apparently not worthy because I don't hold the right opinions.
Yes,
unfortunately, but like with guys like that, yeah, you're a pillar of garbage. As if it even fucking matters what you think. Right? I ain't gonna waste any time on it.
Who? Drinker, maybe one day you'll make it big on YouTube, and then people, you know, they'll talk to you, they'll communicate.
I'm waiting for that day.
I'm still waiting for that day too. Yeah, if it's not happening for you, it ain't happening for me.
Yeah.
Keep trying, kid.
Keep plugging away.
Yep.
I got faith.
People just make videos about how your Barbie take that had like what 2 million views is like didn't connect with people for some reason.
I cried all the way to that.
I know. He's so
I love Copium. I fucking love it. I love it.
It's fun to watch. It really is.
Why did they just make a video going, I'm really fucking jealous of Will Jordan?
I know, right? Just say it. I mean, be honest.
Yes, just
that should be me. That should be me. I worked for 10 years slaving on my YouTube channel. I worked my ass off as a Star Wars fan for 5 years.
5 years.
That's the truth of the matter.
It'd be more accurate. Yeah, it would be more accurate.
Like, I don't know who you even are.
Yep.
You know what? This is the perfect spot to end the video, right here. Overall, I had a fun time editing this video and putting my thoughts out on this, so I'm happy. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe, and of course spread the word. I'll be doing my thing and working on some more stuff. So take care, y'all.